We're going to move now into our time of meditation. To set this time aside for this inner reflection, to touch the divine within us. And so if you're comfortable doing so, I invite you to uncross your legs, place your feet upon the floor. Allow yourself to begin to feel that energy of the divine grounding beneath you. To relax your shoulders. To feel supported by the seat beneath you, wherever you might be. To lift your chin ever so much, just opening up that heart space. Opening into a space of consideration and reflection and perhaps embracing. And if you're comfortable doing so, you can close your eyes or you can gaze at something softly before you. As we take in a breath and release. As we breathe in the essence of life itself and release any tensions, anything that no longer serves us right now. We let go of our concerns and our worries about the things we need to do, but the things left undone. We allow ourselves to be fully present right here and right now. We move into the space knowing that this is a gift we give ourselves. This time of turning within, to move into that inner room, to listen to the still small voice, to allow our being to be calm, to quiet our mind and to move that 18 inches to our heart, to know that we are in a safe space, to allow our heart to open. For this is truly the gift we give ourselves. And I invite you to allow the words I speak to be yours. Allow them to be the words of your own heart. And whatever works for you, fully embrace and delight in. And anything that does not work for you, any concept that does not work for you, simply allow it to roll off of you, like rain falls off of a raincoat. I am the expression of the divine. And in this time of meditation, I open my mind's eye to see myself as a beautiful spring flower. I may be alone or I may be surrounded by other flowers in the garden, but my face lifts to the sun. I feel bathed in the light of the sun. And as I bask in this state of being, I recognize that the light is the light of love. That the warmth that shines upon my face is the warmth of compassion, of connection. I allow myself to imagine that my roots are deeply rooted in fertile ground, moist and warm and rich with nourishment, feeding my very being, feeding my soul. And in this garden, I feel the sacredness of this space. I feel the deepness of the awareness of spirit. Through my roots, I recognize the oneness with all of life, with all that is or has ever been. I might feel a slight breeze on my petals. I might be visited by a butterfly or a hummingbird or a bee looking for nourishment from me. For I am that bright, that brilliant, that rich, that I'm also feeding the world with my life, with my being. This is the essence of who I am. And I carry this vision with me now into the silence, into the silence. I am an expression of life. I am the expression of life itself. This recognition in my mind and my heart enlivens me, delights me in knowing my place in the world, knowing what I came here to do, who I came here to be, as a living, loving expression of the divine. I allow this awareness to imprint on my heart, on my soul, as I prepare to return to the awareness of where I am now, to the beautiful souls around me, to the sacredness of this space, to the safety of this place. I breathe in and out once more as I prepare to open my eyes and be. And so it is. Good morning. Good morning to all of you at Unity of Madison. It's my joy to be with you here today via these delights of technology. Today's talk is titled Planting Seeds. This is such a rich concept, for we are both the gardener and the garden. We are both the farmer and the field. And so take a moment with me, will you, to consider in your mind's eye what that looks like. There you are with all your gardening tools. You've got your spade, you've got your watering can, got your gloves, and you are also the garden. You are the fertile soil before you, ready, waiting, open for what will be planted. You know, we come into this world as infants, still in the womb, and we take in the world around us, the sounds, the energy, the vibration, our mother's heartbeat. Seeds are already being planted. We are a recipient of messages from before we even enter our world. And as little ones, we are so eager to connect, to communicate. I love to watch videos or to see those little babies in the early months of their lives where they're focusing on the mouths of the people that are speaking to them. They're trying to mimic them. They're trying to move their mouth in the same way. They delight in connecting. So when we're little, we maybe read bedtime stories. We pick up the energy of the family around the dining room table or wherever they're gathering. We may be entertained by television or music or nature. We are rich soil. We are the garden. We are the field. And we are affected, we're impressed, we're imprinted by messages, both positive and negative, about ourselves and about our world, how we fit or how we don't fit. We're being imprinted with messages, opinions, beliefs, which become deeply rooted about others, about strangers, about those not like ourselves. We truly come into this world with only two fears: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. As an infant, the fear of being dropped. All of our other fears have been planted. That doesn't mean they are all irrational, although we recognize many as just that, but they are learned fears. We may have received messages of amazing affirmation as a child, that we possess unlimited potential and the world is our oyster. Or, depending on what the adults around us, what our parents lived through, what their experiences were, and their own personalities, we may have received very different messages about ourselves and about our world. The world in general has been more than anxious to let all of us know just how lacking our life is. That's the world of marketing, of advertising. We must first be convinced that we need the product, whatever it might be, that we are not thin enough, not pretty or handsome enough, that we're not well dressed, we're not stylish, we don't own the right things or the newest stuff. And it can be exhausting being bombarded with that if we let it. It takes a conscious effort to remain grounded in knowing who we are as children of God, to not be influenced from the outside, to not accept ourselves as being judged less than. It takes an effort to not believe it. And in unity, we see this as our work. We are the garden and the field, and any weeds, any thorns, no matter how deeply rooted, are to be discovered. They're to be uprooted. They're to be examined and discarded over and over until we are nothing but rich, fertile ground for good. Rich, fertile ground for good. We don't get to languish in the ain't it awfulness. Ain't it awful what happened? Ain't it awful what's going on right now? Regardless of how awful our past might have been, regardless of what is happening in our world now, we in unity do not languish there. It is our work to do individually and with spirit as our strength, as our courage, and as our guide to become the very best version of ourselves, to express the Christ of our nature. For we've all been influenced by friends, family, neighbors, society, the world at large, both kind and unkind, each of us. We are the garden. We are the field, and we decide what that looks like, how we want to express in our world, what weeds to keep and which ones to release, which seedlings to allow to flourish and to blossom into the fullness of our lives. We are each the receivers of the seeds of spirit, receiving inspired ideas, holy seeds, divine guidance. And we hold the intention to be that fertile ground, open, receptive, allowing, flexible. And if anything has shown us that we are able to do this, it has been the last 2+ years. And just as many unity communities, Unity of Madison has had their own changes. We sometimes fight against those changes. We sometimes recognize we need to embrace them in a different way. And it takes each of us, our own growing pattern, our own spectrum, our own continuum of where we are on accepting and embracing change. But we are each to be fertile ground for the receiving of those spiritual seeds, for Spirit is always speaking to us, guiding us, and loving us. And so we choose widely. We choose wisely. We are also the gardeners and the planters, the farmers of our world. We sow the seeds. We sow them in our minds, in our hearts, the messages about ourselves and the messages about our world, both kind and unkind. And we plant these same seeds among others in how we live our lives and how we think, what we say, and what we do. We're reminded in the Gospel of Mark this morning in chapter 4 about planting seeds. I share with you some passages from the Gospel. It begins by talking about Jesus, talking about him teaching. He is teaching at the sea, and a very large crowd is gathered. And he said to them, "Listen, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured it. Other seed fell on rocky ground, where it had not much soil, and immediately it sprang up, since it had no depth of soil. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and yielded no grain. And other seed fell into good soil and brought forth grain, growing up and increasing and yielding 30-fold and 60-fold and 100-fold." Sowing seeds. Jesus then goes on to clarify this parable for his listeners. He interprets the story metaphysically. That's right. Jesus in the scriptures goes on to interpret this parable metaphysically. For he said to them, "Do you not understand this parable? Then how will you understand all the parables? The sower sows the word. The sower sows the word. And these are the ones along the path where the word is sown when they hear. Satan immediately comes and takes away the word which is sown in them." And Satan we know as being our own error thought, our sense of separation, our forgetting that we are one with Spirit. "And these in like manner are the ones sown upon rocky ground, who, when they hear the word, immediately receive it with joy. And they have no root in themselves, but endure for a while. Then, when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the world, immediately they fall away." So Jesus is talking about the human condition, this distractions in life. "And others are the ones sown among thorns, but they are those who hear the word, but the cares of the world and the delights in riches and the desire for other things enter in and choke the word, and it proves unfruitful." Again, Jesus is talking about the human condition. He's having them relate to what goes on in our day-to-day lives. "But those that were sown upon the good soil are the ones who hear the word and accept it and bear fruit 30-fold and 60-fold and 100-fold. So the central theme of this parable is the sower sows the word. Well, what is the word? Well, we're told in scripture that Jesus Christ is called the Word, and he is called the Word because he is the definitive revealing of who God is and what God is like. That same Christ consciousness is present and alive within each one of us, waiting to be fully realized and expressed. Jesus is called the Word because he did fully recognize his kinship, his relationship with God in all its fullness, and lived his life as an expression of that relationship. We can each be that. We are each here to be that, the full expression of the divine. We can be that recipient of the message of love and peace and joy and harmony and abundance, and not allow the distraction of the world, this human experience, to alter our knowing of who we are and who we came here to be. We all have thorns in our garden, but whose garden does it belong to? Whose garden is it? Does it belong to the thorns, or is it yours? Seeds are always being planted in us and by us, by ourselves and others, intentionally or unintentionally. This little seedling, isn't that sweet? This little seedling I found in our yard this week. I think it's a pumpkin or a squash seedling. We live surrounded by forest and woodland creatures. And when we have spaghetti squash or our Halloween pumpkin, when we clean those insides out, we place them at the edge of the woods for the woodland creatures to eat. I didn't plant this seed, yet here it is. This was unintentional. That's much of how we go through life, is unintentional. We're just trying to get by day. Well, we can get by with blinders on, not noticing those around us, not aware of our own thoughts or how we feel about ourselves or how we feel about others in our lives, known or unknown to us. We can toss out seeds of discontent, of mistrust, of judgment, of condemnation, of fear, and of blame. Or we can choose awareness. We can recognize and acknowledge our individual and community role of planting seeds, being divine gardeners, planting spiritual seeds of love and acceptance and understanding. We may never know how those spiritual seeds take root in another, or how they grow or do not grow. We only know that we are planters of the seeds. So let's look at that word plant, P-L-A-N-T. P is for purpose. We set the intention. What is our purpose in how we live our lives? L is for love. Or if this is a divine intention that we are setting, if this is a divine purpose, love is always at the forefront. Love is always behind and within every decision we make. The A is for awareness, to be aware of our thoughts and to be able to then choose differently if our thoughts are not life-affirming, if our thoughts are not nourishing, which brings us to N, and that is to nurture. How do we nurture our thoughts? How do we nurture ourselves? We do so through self-care, through taking good care of ourselves, by also taking good care of our spiritual health by spending time in prayer and in meditation and in service to others. And the final letter, T, is trust. Purpose, love, awareness, nurture, trust. For there is great joy in releasing without expectation. For the roots of others, how this grows for others is none of our business. Only the seeds are. Only the seeds. There's a song and a message that we can carry into our daily lives. It's a song that was written by Daniel Nahman called Planting Seeds. It was then revised and performed by Daniel with Nimesh Patel of Empty Hands Music. And the music video, which is free to download, everything in Empty Hands Music is free to download, is called Planting Seeds. It's the idea of planting seeds without expectation of the fruits, to plant ideas of love without expecting love in return, to plant seeds of hard work without expecting success or accolades, to plant seeds of peace without expecting the world to always be peaceful. In the end, this is what we can do, to plant our seeds, to water the plants and let them take off on their own course as we release them. These are some of the lyrics. Whatever grows will grow. Whatever dies will die. Whatever works will work. Whatever flies will fly. Whatever fails will fail. What's meant to soar will soar. We are planting seeds, nothing more. Many blessings to you as both gardener and garden. And so it is.